What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside Inter Miami. I'm your host, Andre Fernandez, joined as always by my co-host, our Inter Miami beat writer, Michelle Kaufman. This is our 80th episode. We turned 80 this week, Michelle. I can't
We
believe
turn
this.
80. It's unbelievable. This is our 80th episode. I looked yesterday and I saw that this is our 80th episode. We started right after Messi got here. He got here in July of 2023. We started this podcast, and 80 episodes later,
Yeah.
here we are, and we're still talking about Messi. So it's been fun, and we have so much to talk about today.
Does this mean we're getting old, or does this mean we're getting better?
It means he's getting old and we're getting old.
There we go. A little bit of both, maybe. But it's our 80th, and we're actually, and we have a high note to talk about because so much for this slump this team was in, at least it looks that way. This team comes back. Couldn't have asked for a better week. They not only take care of business against a lowly Montreal team in last place, but then they come out and absolutely destroy Columbus on the weekend. A big 5-1 victory that followed up the 4-2 win over Montreal. Lionel Messi scoring goals, assisting on goals, looking like Messi again. More importantly, even so for this team, I think, El Pistolero was back. Scored 2 goals. Seems like he's finally getting back into his rhythm again. Messi with 2 goals overall, 3 assists in the win over Columbus. So we're going to break down everything that comes with that game. Unfortunately for them, though, they don't have another league game for a month. They climb from 7th to 3rd in the standings, but are going to have to wait to build off of that. But we're going to look ahead to the Club World Cup, which begins June 14th, the next big hurdle for this team as they chase that dream of potentially winning that championship, which is full of heavyweights from around the world. We'll talk about both victories. Messi looked energetic, super motivated as he left for Argentina. And we'll talk a little bit more about the guys that are on national team duty until June 11th. And, of course, that Club World Cup opener, as I said before. And if you haven't seen it already, haven't read it already, Michelle had a very nice story on Fafa Picault. She'll elaborate a little bit on his backstory. And then we have some fun with Javier Mascherano. We'll have some reaction from these wins in the Club World Cup, and then a little little humor there at the end that will surprise you with. But let's start with these 2 wins that were desperately needed for this team, to say the least.
Yeah, I did not have this. I don't think anyone had this on their bingo card.
No.
Did anybody put on their bingo card beating Columbus Crew 5-1 with 2 goals
like
by
that.
Messi and 3 assists? No. I definitely did not expect that game. I don't think anybody did. You know, they were getting better leading into that game, which is what they kept telling us. It's what Masha kept telling us. It's what the players kept saying. Look, they tied Philadelphia. Things, the really, really, really bad stretch kind of was subsiding when they tied Philadelphia. And then after that, they beat Montreal. And it's like, okay, a tie and a win. That's already 4 points for the week. But, the win is over Montreal. Okay. But Pistolero did score twice. So that was a positive from that game. Messi scored twice. Pistolero scored twice. They had both been a little bit, dry, especially if Pistolero had not been scoring at all. So you start to think, okay, things are looking better. Mascherano kept saying that the second half of the Philadelphia game really made him optimistic for the week that was to come. And he was correct. I got to say he was correct. By the way, it's funny. He was voted MLS Coach of the Week this week. This guy that everyone was saying should be fired last week is now this week named MLS Coach of the Week. So this is the roller coaster that we're on with this team. Anyway, so, they come in with a tie against Philadelphia, a win against Montreal, and then they come in and play their best game of the year. Without question, this was their best game of the year against the Columbus Crew. They were together offensively. They played strong defensively. They had one hiccup, which once again was on a corner kick. They allowed the 1 goal. But other than that, they came right back. And Suarez scored and Fafa scored. And it was just, exactly what this team needed at this moment, which we're going to talk later about how happy Messi seems right now. There's just like a weight off his back. We're going to talk about that later. But the whole team, has a weight off their backs. I mean, this game was everything that they could have wanted heading into this FIFA break now and then heading into the Club World Cup.
Yeah, two developments with this team that were huge. Not only, I think that last few minutes against those last few minutes against Philadelphia were huge. At the time, you're thinking, how much can that carry over? Because we saw it before. They tied San Jose and then went right back to struggling the way they had been. But this time, it seems like something kind of clicked after that game. And then, of course, Suarez breaking out of his slump. The bad thing is getting all these guys hurt, because they were dropping like flies in the game against Montreal. Three defenders, Jordi Alba, Gonzalo Lujan, Toto Aviles. So you want them to kind of, especially with what's coming. They do have a break now to rest up a bit, obviously before June 14th, which is good. But you want the team, obviously, to not lose all these key players going into this tough stretch, because obviously this is going to be, we've talked about it and we're going to talk about it even more. This bracket in this Club World Cup is nothing to mess around with. Right from the start,
Yeah.
this is going to be a tough one.
It's going to be a tough one. And yeah, as far as the injuries, I mean, in that Montreal game, I think they had 4 different pairings of center backs. Everyone who was dropping was a defender, including Jordi Alba. That is a big loss. Now, they did destroy Columbus without Jordi Alba. That was
right.
That was really impressive. It's not only that they beat Columbus 5-1, they also did it without without Yannick Bright, without Jordi Alba, without Lujan, without Aviles. So these are all defenders, defensive-minded players, and they all were injured, and the team still came through. They really did. Everybody stepped up. One of the other things that Mascherano did for this Columbus game is he put Benha Kramaski in a center midfield position rather than out on a wing. He has always seemed more comfortable there. He really played very well there, and that worked well. Mascherano talked about that afterwards. Someone asked him specifically about Benha, and he said yes, that the previous time they played Columbus, first of all, Benha scored the only goal in that game, but that's not really why he started him. He said it was that they felt that they needed more players in the center, and one fewer player running up top against Columbus. And so they did that to sort of stretch the Columbus midfield out. And because they said they usually play only with 2 midfielders, Columbus, so they decided to play with 3 so that they would be outnumbered. So Columbus would be outnumbered in the midfield. And anyway, whatever they did, whatever strategies they had, it worked. It worked. They won 5-1. No one is questioning them right now at this moment. Of course, as we see, things change here on a dime. But for this week, right now, the Inter Miami fans are happy this week.
Yep. And let's hear from Coach Javier Mascherano about these much needed victories and what they showed, and also how much tougher this Club World Cup is going to be.
No, no tiene nada que ver. No. El resultado, claramente, ganar y ganar de esta manera nos da confianza. Nos demuestra que si somos valientes, si estamos tranquilos, si nos animamos a jugar, podemos jugarle de igual a igual a cualquier equipo, sobre todo en la MLS. Después el Mundial de Clubes es otra historia, ¿no? Los rivales, claramente, tengo que ser realista, son de otro nivel. Inclusive el Al-Ahly, que todo el mundo piensa que es un rival menor. Ya les digo que no es un rival menor, ni mucho menos. Pero bueno, vamos a competir a esto, ¿no? A tratar de ser nosotros, y de eso se trata. Al final es un juego, hay que ser valiente, hay que tratar de jugar con nuestras armas y no tener temor a equivocarse. Al final lo peor que te puede pasar es tener temor a equivocarte. Al final de eso se trata el fútbol. No importa si me equivoco, sino es cómo reacciono ante el error y seguir sosteniendo esto. Creo que en estos últimos partidos los chicos lo han entendido, se han sacado un peso de encima. Pero bueno, tenemos que seguir, no alcanza con esto, hay que seguir reforzando y que no se nos olvide de acá a 2 semanas.
Yeah, so, he basically said this win, someone asked, the question that led to that answer was, how did this win help you guys going forward with the Club World Cup? And he said, well, it does give us confidence. Winning, not only winning, but winning the way we did against this Columbus team gives this team a lot of confidence. But let's be realistic. He said, I have to be realistic. The opponents that we're about to face in Club World Cup are at a different level. They're at a different level. And he said that a few times during this press conference. And he said, and specifically Al Ali, he said, I know a lot of people out there think that this is a lesser opponent. He said, I'm telling you that they're not a lesser opponent, not even close. He said, this is going to be a very tough challenge for the team. And, he hopes that everything that they did in this game, that they seem to be really understanding now the message of what they have to do, not to be afraid to make mistakes. And they have to keep building on that. They have to keep building on what they've just done this week and hope that they don't forget it in 2 weeks' time. Because kind of what you were just saying, Andre, that they now have this break, their next MLS game isn't for another month now, but their next game is in 2 weeks. So, in a way, they're going to have a break now from this good run that they just had this week. And in a way, it probably would have been better for them to just keep on going, on this same momentum, riding this wave. Now the wave is going to go down a bit while some of the guys are off to national teams. Messi is with Argentina. Talasco Segovia is with Venezuela. Fafa is with the Haitian team in Aruba for 2 World Cup qualifiers. Ben Hakramashi is in Egypt with the U.S. under-20 team for 2 games in Egypt, and Santi Morales is in Switzerland with the U.S. under-18 team. And then a bunch of guys are injured. So, there's now this break at not the best time for this team, really.
Yeah, you had the big. It's like you had the big party on Saturday. You won. Everybody feels happy. Now the room looks like the day after when the cleaning crew's in. All the cups are everywhere, scattered everywhere. Like no one's there. Like it's like now, how do you get back? You have to get that party going again once you hit the field again, especially in 2 weeks. And like Coach was saying, this is not going to be an easy opponent. Just because they're not as big of a name as some of the other names in this bracket doesn't mean they can take them lightly. But I mean, Messi, again, looking like himself again in these past couple of games, especially in the Columbus game. But I think getting
he
Suarez,
so happy.
But I think getting Suarez back on track was
and
tremendous.
Allende. Also, let's
Allende.
discuss Allende. Allende had also been in a slump. Allende and Suarez were both in slumps. Messi was looking more and more frustrated. I wrote a column, which I'd encourage you all to read, about Messi is happy again. Messi looked very grumpy. I think we've discussed it in the last episode, but Messi looked very grumpy. He was yelling at refs. He left 2 games in a row with yellow cards after the final whistle. Yeah. He looked so frustrated. And, I've talked to people inside, and I said, was there something else going on? Because he looked like a different person. Honestly, he looked like a different person in this Columbus game. Starting with, I led my game story with this. He came out, something he really doesn't do very often. During the warm-ups, he made it a point to look over at the north stands and wave at La Familia, wave at the fans. And they went crazy. They were so excited. So from even before the first kick of that Columbus game, Messi was in a good mood. He appeared to be in a good mood. Okay. And, there are several reasons. Insiders say, look, this guy hates to lose like nobody else. It doesn't matter that he's won the Ballon d'Or 8 times. He's a World Cup champion. He makes $135 million, is among the top on the Forbes list, has a beautiful wife, has a beautiful family, has everything he could want. He wants to win every game. He's highly competitive, even in practice. They say you guys don't get to see him in practice, but every rondo, every practice, every drill, he wants to win, and he gets grumpy when he doesn't. He was very grumpy during that stretch, okay? But then the team was looking like it started to turn around. Like Masha had said, the second half of the Philadelphia game, they pull out a tie. Then they beat Montreal convincingly, 4-2. He was in a good mood going into this game. A couple other things why he might have been in a good mood too is he is right now in contract negotiations to renew his contract with Inter Miami. And I believe they are trying to get this done before Club World Cup, if not very soon after. But in the next few weeks, I think there's going to be big news about Lionel Messi remaining with this team through the opening of the stadium in 2026, which is massive. So maybe he was motivated because he wants the team to be on an upswing when he signs this contract. He would feel very uncomfortable if the team is going to have some big celebration, which you know they will because they promote everything with this team at every moment that they can of Messi. I'm sure they have some big, celebration for the day he signs his contract.
Oh yeah.
Look pretty bad if he's signing some big contract and the team hadn't won in 10 games in a row or something,
Right.
So I think he was highly motivated to get the team out of the slump, number one. Number two, just for himself, to have the team looking good again, to have the teammates, to have Suarez scoring again, Allende scoring again. And then, by the way, that game on Saturday was right after the Champions League final, where PSG destroyed Inter Milan 5-0. Okay. That does not happen in a Champions League final. Well, guess what? PSG is the team that Messi used to play on. And by the way, the big narrative around the world is that PSG became much better when they got rid of Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe. That was an all-star team. It wasn't working. And once they got rid of those stars, everyone started playing defense and playing together. And lo and behold, they win Champions League. Now, I think Messi.
Their first, right? This is their first.
Yeah.
Their first championship.
Messi wanted to deep inside somewhere show like, hey, wait a minute. I haven't lost my touch. I'm still Messi, guys. Okay. Messi is still Messi.
Yeah.
So, it's he went to Argentina yesterday. He posted a picture of himself arriving in Argentina with the biggest smile on his face. And I mentioned in my column a giant smile, an Adidas sweatshirt, of course, and a little small briefcase, a little small satchel. And I said he didn't really have any big, heavy luggage because he's traveling light. This week, Messi is happy. He's traveling light, no baggage on his back right now this week.
Well, here's a little more Mascherano this time talking about Messi.
Javier, buenas noches, felicitaciones por el resultado. Más allá de los goles y asistencias de Messi hoy, me parece que marca el camino con las pequeñas cosas, ¿no? Dirigiendo a sus compañeros, marcando los pases, mostrando una energía, el liderazgo que hemos visto normalmente en su carrera. ¿Me puedes hablar un poquito de lo que tú viste en particular esta noche de Leo que quizás contagió al resto de sus compañeros?
No, bueno, claramente, no, yo no lo veo esta noche, lo veo todos los partidos. La realidad es que siempre digo lo mismo, tratar de ayudarlo en todo lo que podamos, no solamente los compañeros, sino también nosotros como staff, como cuerpo técnico, porque claramente es el mejor jugador que ha jugado a este deporte en la historia. Y tenemos que entender que cuando no luce tanto es porque alguno de nosotros está fallando. Esa es la realidad. Pero nada, al final a mí lo que me pasa con él es que a través del tiempo, ya como compañero, ahora desde otro lugar, sigo disfrutando de ver las cosas que hace dentro de la cancha. De eso se trata, ¿no? De admirarlo, porque la admiración es eso, es ver en otro lo que uno no puede hacer. Y bueno, uno quiere pero no puede. Y bueno, nada, tratar de generarle el buen ambiente, el clima, armar todo alrededor de él para que él pueda lucir, pueda disfrutar y sobre todo pueda liderar a este equipo.
Yeah, I mean, the utmost respect, obviously, from Javier Mascherano, speaking about his former teammate and now his player, Lionel Messi. He was asked, it looked like Messi looked different today. I agree with that question, with Jose, who was asking that question. He did look more energized, more involved with his teammates. Like I said, he was in a good mood from before the game even started. There was a different energy. But Mascherano said, oh, no, I see him that way all the time. I think that is how he is all of the time. And we have to understand that when he doesn't shine, it's because someone else, it's because one of us is failing, is not doing what we're supposed to do. So, he was basically saying Messi is always Messi. Messi will always do those things. when he doesn't shine, it's because somebody around him is not doing their job. That he is the greatest player in the history of the sport, and they have to create an environment on that team and make everything around him, build everything around him so that he can shine, so that he can lead, and so that he can enjoy. And he said that that's what they're trying to do, is build everything around Lionel Messi, because when he doesn't shine, it's because the team, something's going wrong with the team. It's not him. He basically is saying the man can do no wrong. Okay. Javier Mascherano is saying this man can do no wrong.
He's in
And if
like,
there's ever a problem,
yep,
he is,
yep.
yes. He's, if anything goes wrong with this team, or if
Our
Messi is
bad,
not
not his.
shining in a game, it's our bad. It's on me. He said it's not only on the players specifically. He said it's not only on his teammates, it's on us too, as a coaching staff. So he's basically saying if Messi doesn't shine, it's on us. It's on his teammates. It's on his coaches, because that man is the GOAT of GOATs. He is, the best of all time. And if he's not shining, it's not his fault. It's our fault if he's not shining. So imagine the coach is saying that. He said it very heartfelt that's how he feels. So the team did deliver. The team did deliver around Messi. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to need an even
they,
bigger. It's going to
really
need an
look
even.
good.
Yeah, it's going to need an even bigger delivery coming up, though, because this tournament, like we keep saying, is stacked. Messi, Fafa, Segovia, Kremansky, Morales, all on national team duty until June 11th, and then turn their attention to Al Ali on June 14th, followed by games.
Yeah,
in
we're
Atlanta.
talking about 3 days, right? We're talking
3 days.
about.
I mean, it's
they're
like
going to get back. They're going to get back on the 11th. They're going to get back on the 11th from Egypt, from Switzerland, from all these places around the world.
Yeah.
And then they're going to get back and have to get on the training field. And boom, on Saturday, on that Saturday is the opening game against an Egyptian team that I've mentioned before is so fired up. First of all, they're a very good team. They win the Egyptian championship on a regular basis. But on top of that, they've added reinforcements for this tournament. They've brought players in specifically for this tournament who were playing in Europe, and they just hired a new coach last week. So this is a team that is highly, highly motivated. The way they see it, they are coming to the United States, coming to America to play Messi. I mean, when those guys get on that airplane, they are going to be fired up. So, hey, maybe Ben can hop on the plane with them. I just realized he's going to be in Egypt too. Anyway, I'm just kidding. But
there you go.
There you go. But they're going to be, the Egyptian team is going to be very fired up, and Miami is going to have a tough go. Miami's going to have a tough go. It's going to be really difficult. Are they up for the challenge?
Well,
it's tough.
That's the thing. In all seriousness, are they up for it? I mean, yes, they had a great week, no doubt. But have they resolved enough to make a run in this tournament, to really make some noise and be competitive? Have they figured out their defensive issues? For one, they keep popping up. Even in these victories, there still were a few moments. And are they healthy enough too? Because they've got to get Jordi Alba back. They've got to get these guys that went down the other day against Montreal.
Yannick Bright
is hurt. Out. I mean, that's the thing. Are they healthy enough? And have they figured everything out, not just for 1 week, and obviously coming up much tougher competition? So let's hear from Javier Mascherano talking a little bit about this Club World Cup.
Tratar de ganar el primer partido, como digo siempre, el próximo. Ese es el objetivo, y después iremos al segundo y después iremos al tercero. Querer acá dar un mensaje de que vamos a hacer esto o lo otro, de nada sirve. Es una competición que como quizás acá no pasa con lo que es la Copa de la CONCACAF, porque son eliminatorias directamente, pero una competición donde hay una zona de grupo, donde siempre en una zona de grupo el primer partido suele ser el más importante, porque es el que te va mostrando y te va condicionando o no en los otros dos. Pero sabemos que claramente, hay que ser sincero, el nivel que vamos a enfrentar es mucho más alto de lo que hemos enfrentado en CONCACAF y en MLS. Si estamos a la altura o no, lo demostraremos a partir del sábado 14 de junio. Yo creo que este equipo, si estamos juntos, estamos unidos, podemos competir. Podemos competir porque el fútbol es 11 contra 11, adentro de una cancha y con una pelota. Y al final, ahí no es solamente la calidad, sino es el deseo, las ganas que uno tiene de vencer al otro. Y bueno, intentaremos transmitirle eso. Estamos ante un gran desafío y lo intentaremos dar todo para, obviamente, ojalá poder clasificar a la siguiente ronda y también dejar un muy buen papel en lo que es la competición. Somos uno de los 2 o 3, depende de lo que pase esta noche con Los Ángeles, que vamos a representar a esta liga, a este país. Entonces tratar de hacerlo de la mejor manera, porque también es un desafío representar a este país.
Okay, so he said, look, what's our goals for this tournament? We're going to take it one game at a time. Right now, we're just focusing on the first game. He said in these type of competitions where there's a group stage, you know, how you do it, your first game is vital. The first game is really important because it sets the stage for the other two. It gets you, you know, it gets your momentum going for the other two games. He said, but again, I have to be honest, the level of competition that we're going to face here is much, he used the word much higher than what we have faced in CONCACAF or in MLS. So he said, are we up to the task? That we will demonstrate on June 14th. We will show on June 14th. I think if we stay united, if we stay together, definitely we can compete because soccer is 11v11 on a field with a ball. It's not only the skill, it's the desire, it's who wants it more. And he said, you know, it's going to be a very big challenge, but he hopes that they can not only win and advance to the next round, but play well. And he said also that, you know, they're going to be representing MLS and representing the United States. And I'm not sure if that was in that clip, but he's added that in, that, you know, they're representing not only their club, but MLS and the United States. And they want to have a good showing.
Yeah.
So
he talked about that a little bit, about being one of the very few teams in there that's representing not only the MLS but the US too. So they want to put on a good performance for that as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. We will see. The first game is here in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium against Al Ahly on the 14th. It has been raining like crazy here, and I looked at the forecast, and it is going to be raining well into next week. I do hope that it clears up in time for all of these guests that are starting to arrive in South Florida. Some of the other teams are going to be training in South Florida, and right now, you really can't train with the amount of torrential rain that is pouring down in Miami right now. So weather could be a factor as well with which teams are getting a chance to train and which teams are not.
Yeah, and not only for people that are interested in Inter Miami, but just soccer fans in general, some treats in this tournament, and some here too. Monday, June 16th, Boca Juniors is in town taking on Benfica. You've got
Real Madrid.
I was about to get to that against Al Hilal on June 18th. I mean, those are. It doesn't involve Inter Miami, but you know those games are going to be packed. Check this one out. June 20th is a doozy. Bayern Munich against Boca Juniors. I mean, those are the two of the most traditional clubs in the world facing each other, and it's right here in our backyard. So
here,
when we
right
say
here in Miami, let's hope they've got the security up from what. Let's hope they've figured out the security issues from the Copa America final last summer, because that was a disaster. So hopefully they're going to get that straightened out.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, this Miami team, this is, you know, pipe dream probably, but looking ahead, if they do advance from the group, okay, they're in Group A. I'm just going to give you the scenarios, but if they win the group, or if they finish second in the group, their next opponent would likely be Atletico Madrid from Spain or PSG. Speaking of PSG, PSG is in Group B.
Yes.
PSG and Atletico Madrid are in Group B. If those two teams finish top of Group B, which would be what you would predict on paper, Inter Miami, if they were to advance, could potentially be playing PSG. If Miami finishes second in their group, they could be playing PSG in the next round.
Which would
Imagine
be
that one.
look at that
Lionel
with
Messi
that
playing
storyline.
against PSG.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
and that storyline, that narrative of we were better without you.
Yes.
Boom.
Yes. Now we're gonna come destroy you. Yep. No, there's lots of good storylines. Lots of good
Yeah.
storylines coming up.
And
For sure.
I'm scrolling down to this. Let's see, winners of Group B. No, runners up of Group. Here it is. Runners up of Group A. Oh, it's in Atlanta. It's not in Miami.
It's in Atlanta.
Winners of Group B. Runner up of Group A in Atlanta. Winner of Group A
On June
runner up of
29.
Group
Mark your
B.
calendar. If you want to circle it with a pencil,
It'd be in
circle it with a
Philly or
pencil.
Atlanta.
Okay, not with a pen. But
Yeah.
June 28th would be in Philly if Miami wins its group. If
Right.
Miami finishes second in its group, it
June
would be the next
29th.
Sunday, June 29th in Atlanta.
Right.
So June 28, 29, that weekend is the next round for groups A and B, which is Miami is in Group A, Atletico Madrid, and PSG are in Group B. So for those of you who want to pencil things in, pencil in that weekend.
Right. And if anyone's wondering, there's no scenario where Inter Miami would play at home in Miami beyond the pool round if they get out of it. After that, it would be somewhere else, because if you look at the quarterfinals, they're all in Orlando, Philly, Atlanta, East Rutherford, New Jersey. And East Rutherford, New Jersey, what used to be called the Meadowlands, the Giant Stadium, MetLife Stadium, that'll be the host of the semis and the final.
And the final. Yep, that's all in New York.
Yep, all in New York. So we're getting ready. We'll have plenty more of that coming up. But we want to finish the show on a couple of different notes here. First off, Michelle, tell us a little bit about just you wrote a great piece, as we mentioned before, on Fafa Picault. Remarkable individual. We knew already he was, but you dove in even more and peeled the layers back and gave us his life story, and it was interesting.
Yeah, Fafa is one of the most interesting, maybe the best backstory on the team. If you take all the players, he has a really interesting backstory. He's a Haitian American, was born in New York, spent his early childhood in New York, and then moved here to Miami. His grandfather, who is turning 98 this October, he's 97 years old. He was a New York City cab driver, a New York City taxi driver until 4 years ago. He was driving a taxi until age 93 in New York City. That is one of his mentors, his paternal grandfather. His maternal grandfather was a star on the Haitian national team back in the day. So his two grandfathers, both interesting individuals. His father also played soccer. And then his father played professionally in the indoor league in Philadelphia and in the United States. His mother is a lifelong educator who wanted him to carry on his education and go to college. When he was 16, here in Miami, he got an invitation to go play in Italy, in Sardinia, for a second division team over there. And he went over at age 16 to play in Italy, kind of against his mom's wishes. She wanted him to stay and go to school. She let him finally go if he promised to keep a 3.7 GPA with his online schooling, which he did, by the way. He's an excellent student. He had been an honors student in school up until that point, till age 16. Anyway, he goes over to Italy and faces quite a bit of racism. I won't give all the details. I'll leave some for the story for those of you who haven't read it. But he went through a really difficult time dealing with racism. He said that, not to say that everybody there was racist. There were a lot of wonderful people. He still goes back to that town, almost every year. He said every year he goes back, he vacations there. He has friends still there. But there were some individuals that made it very difficult for him as a 16, 17-year-old, being alone, away from his family, trying to chase his dream. And because he was Black, he faced some very difficult situations that were horrible, what he had to deal with. He ended up coming back to the United States. Then he went back to Europe. He played in Czech Republic. He played in Germany, and then comes back to the U.S. and has a long MLS career. but he has really bounced around. He's been on 10 teams in 13 years. 10 teams in 13 years. He's bounced all over the place, but everywhere he goes, he brings a ray of sunshine. He's a guy who just has a giant smile on his face. He's a great teammate. I have quotes in that story from Jim Curtin, who coached him in Philadelphia, from Jurgen Klinsmann, who called him into the U.S. national team. I have a quote from him, from Thomas Rongen, who coached him with the U.S. under-20 team. They all say the same thing, that this guy is a coach's dream. So anyway, if you want to read more about Fafa, go to MiamiHerald.com. You can find my column there. I'm also on Twitter at Koff Sports. You can find my stuff there. But it was a really interesting backstory about Fafa. The guy has overcome a lot to get to the point that he's at now.
Yeah, interesting for sure. I mean, it's a very good read. It's a great read, and you have more that, what a remarkable, like I said, remarkable individual, and a guy who's really made an impact. And now we're talking about real life, but also in soccer terms, we've seen what an impactful player impactful addition he's been this season so far for this team. Even through some of the struggles, he's been consistent for the most part.
He steps up. All the coaches, the coaches that I mentioned, all big time coaches, they all had one part of their comment was all in the same, is that he has a knack for making big plays. He makes things happen. He's small. He's a little guy. Messi's small too, but he's also slight. He's not like this strong. He looks like a small, slight guy, but he has a lot of speed for a guy who's 34 years old. The guy can still run, okay? And he just has a way of knowing where to be at the right time. And the other thing that they talked about, that he's such a team player, Jim Curtin said, if you need him to, he will race back 90 yards, to play defense if he has to, and then race right back up forward to help you in the attack. He will do whatever the team needs. Offensively, if you need a big play on a corner kick, he'll make it. He does headers, even though he's short. He claims that he can dunk. He played a lot of basketball as a kid. He says he can dunk. So the guy can jump. He can make big plays on the offensive end, but he also will run back and play defense. So he's really a great addition to the team so far.
If I remember correctly, wasn't it a header that beat Atlanta? It was a header. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember. Yeah. So it showed you right there. Impactful player and versatile too, as you were describing. But check out that story if you haven't already, and check out a lot of the other coverage that we've had of this week heading into the break now before the Club World Cup. But we want to end it on a funny note. Why don't you introduce this clip, Michelle? A little lighthearted moment with
lighthearted clip to end the podcast today, before our farewell till next week, is Javier Mascherano was asked about, it looked like everything that you planned really worked, all of a sudden singing his praises as a coach, you did this, you did that, the players all seemed to step up. And so he talked about that. He addressed that, about that he seemed to make all the right moves and everything seemed to work against Columbus Crew. Here's what he said.
No, claramente. Y vaya que cumplió, como Telasco, como Busi, como todo el equipo. La verdad que hoy el equipo en general lo hizo muy bien. Y bueno, esto es lo lindo que tiene el fútbol. A veces que cuando las cosas salen como uno las imagina, esta es la profesión más linda del mundo. Y cuando no salen como las imagina, es una mierda. Esa es la realidad.
Everybody laughed. I mean, he said, look, when things work out, this is the best profession in the world. When things come out as you imagine, this is the best profession in the world. And he said, and when they don't, it's crap. Basically, I mean, that was the translation.
The HBO uncensored version of that, but yeah.
Yeah, he said it's, this is the best profession in the world when you win and everything is going well and everything goes as you imagine. And when it doesn't, it's crap. And so, that's what Javier Mascherano and every coach and as a sports writer, I've been doing this for 38 years, and Andre, you have too. And, I think the one thing that we both know as veteran sports writers, journalists, is that people who jump on coaches a lot right away, and or a team loses and immediately people are trashing the coach and saying, well, he sucks, he needs to be fired, whatever. When you've been covering sports for 4 decades, and you're not as old as me, but you're no spring chicken either. You know, there's teams go through ups and downs. Teams go through ups and downs. Teams go through roller coasters, and you can't always just throw out the coach and have, new coaches every single year. Even in this team, honestly, I always felt they should have kept Tata. There's nothing against Mascherano. I think now he's doing a good job, but this team has had 4 coaches in 5 years. That's a lot of turnover. So anyway, this is the kind of roller coaster that coaches sign up for when they become coaches. When things go well, no one is yelling at the coach. When things go poorly, the coach is terrible. You've seen it. I've seen it. It happens time and time again in every sport.
But in this sport especially, the knee-jerk reaction is more than most. I mean, maybe more than all, because you see it on
it's because
the
of the
international
passion
level all the time. Like there's
the
there's
passion
national,
right? The passion for the sport, because we've seen in this country, I've covered college basketball, we've covered the NFL, covered the NBA. Teams go through long slumps, and you discuss them, but it's not like in the 3rd game of the season, people are saying they should fire the coach. In soccer, they do.
You do.
In soccer, if you lose to your rival, I remember Diego Alonso, the first coach here for Inter Miami. The reason that he was even available to coach this team in December, when they were frantically looking for someone who is available, who's unemployed. They basically were looking through the unemployment list to see who they could get in the middle of the season. And the reason he was available is that he was coaching in Mexico. And even though he had led the team to the championship the previous season, right before he got fired, their team lost to their biggest rival. And that was just unacceptable. You do not lose to your biggest rival.
No.
And if you do, you will pay the price. And he got fired. And that's why he was even available to coach this team. So, this is how it is in soccer. The passion from the fans and the people who end up working in the front office in this sport, a lot of times they just have no patience. There is no patience in soccer. You win or you're out.
Yeah,
you win or you're out.
Especially when you coach like the national sides in very passionate soccer nations, it's merciless. Like you lose and olvídate de eso, like we say, you're gone.
You're out. And in this team, you're coaching Messi, and you know what? Messi can't look bad. We're not going to go deep into like we did last, but this club and the league, they don't want Messi to look bad. They want Messi to look good. For Messi to look good, they have to win. For the team to win, the coach has to be doing a good job. So
if not,
there is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, if not, he's, as Mascherano said, he becomes mierda, basically.
It's crap.
It's
when
crap.
you do well, it's great. If not, it's crap. So,
Yep. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody watching another episode of Inside Inter Miami. Remember, you can always catch us on YouTube and at MiamiHerald.com and listen to us on all your favorite podcatchers. And we'll be back next week for another. We won't be recapping it much.
We'll do an in-depth preview. We'll do an in-depth preview
of the Club World Cup.
Of the Club World Cup in general. All the teams will already be here training in the United States.
Correct.
The Inter Miami guys will see how they're doing on their national team duty. Make sure everybody's healthy.
Right.
See how people are coming along with their injuries, and we'll get you all set for the Club World Cup.
Yep, and we'll see if Messi is still happy, and we'll see if Pistolero is still in shape, still in rhythm, and ready to go, and if this team can make some noise, starting with that opening match on June 14th right here in South Florida. All right, until then, for Michelle Kaufman, I'm Andre Fernandez. Thank you for watching Inside Inter Miami. Enjoy any games you watch, everybody, and we'll see you next week.